Hello, people. Finished another book. This one, a little bit of light reading compared to what I normally read. This is written by a guy. I'm not going to try and pronounce his first name because I think it's Richard, but it's not spelled Richard. It's spelled Rizard, and his last name is Kapuscinski. He is a Polish gentleman that grew up during the Nazi occupation, and so he was there for the Soviets, and he turned out to be like a foreign correspondent for a Polish newspaper. And he's written other books, and I've never read anything by him. I saw this in the used bookstore, and I picked it up because it looked interesting. He works for this newspaper, and when he takes off on his first assignments, somebody gives him a copy of Herodotus, the histories. And, it ends up that Herodotus is kind of like a foreign correspondent himself. And I like Herodotus. I've never read anything by Herodotus. Most of the time when I try to read something by an author from antiquity, it ends up being kind of unreadable for me. And so right here I'm on page 4, and already Kapuscinski has made me laugh. And let's see if I can find it. He's talking about in school. He's sitting next to one of his schoolmates. And he says, "To my left was Z, a taciturn peasant from a village near Radomsko, the kind of place where, as he once told me, a household would keep a piece of dry kielbasa as medicine. If an infant fell ill, it would be given the kielbasa to suck." So he asks the guy, he says, "Did that help?" I asked, skeptically. "Of course," he replied with conviction, and fell into gloomy silence again. The book quotes directly from Herodotus in several places, so I feel like I've read a little bit of Herodotus, and I've read a lot of ancient history before, so I've also seen Herodotus quotes there. Oh yeah, and he goes to China, and this is what he has to say about the Great Wall of China. "That is how the world's energy is wasted, in complete irrationality, complete futility. For the Great Wall, and it is gigantic, a wall fortress stretching for thousands of kilometers through uninhabited mountains and wilderness, an object of pride, and as I have mentioned, one of the wonders of the world, is also proof of a kind of human weakness, of an aberration, of a horrifying mistake. It is evidence of a historical inability," I lost my spot, "of people in this part of the planet to communicate, to confer, and jointly determine how best to deploy enormous reserves of human energy and intellect." I thought that was kind of good for what's going on right here with that stupid wall. Herodotus and this guy are the same kind of people, and I didn't figure that out at the beginning of the book. It took me 100 pages to figure that out. And I just made a little note here about, I said, Herodotus, an atheist? What the hell? He may have been an atheist because he realizes that humans kind of invent their gods, and they also take them from other people. So, kumis is something that they sat around and drank. The Scythians would sit around and drink kumis. Kumis is fermented horse milk, and since horse milk has a lot of sugar in it, it turns it into a kind of a wine. And I Googled that, and I looked at some YouTube videos, and it looks pretty nasty. But I've also got here, third paragraph. Oh, yeah, because I had the audacity to compare myself to Herodotus. Herodotus was he was curious about the world, so he traveled around, he talked to people, and he did interviews. He didn't have libraries he could go to. I got libraries I can go to, so I am curious about the world, and that's one of the reasons that I never quit reading. And it's also one of the reasons that I read very little fiction. I know some people are going to take issue with that. There is some great fiction, but typically I don't read it. And this is what he says about Herodotus. There aren't many such enthusiasts born. The average person is not especially curious about the world. He is alive, and being somehow obliged to deal with this condition, feels the less effort it requires, the better. Whereas learning about the world is labor, and a great all-consuming one at that. Most people develop quite antithetical talents. In fact, to look without seeing, to listen without hearing, mainly to preserve oneself within oneself. So when someone like Herodotus comes along, a man possessed by a craving, a bug, a mania for knowledge, and endowed furthermore with intellect and powers of written expression, it's not so surprising that his rare condition should outlive him. Okay, so I'm not really comparing myself to Herodotus, but Herodotus, I think, would approve of my book collection. And thank you, and that's it.